Hello class, this is Professor Tweed doing exploded axons, and in this video we're going to look at adding the first floor to the axon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my 3D model here, and the first thing I'm going to do before I get my first floor is I'm actually going to save the cut, because I want to sort of make sure I cut at the same spot as the bottom of my first floor. Like this line right here wants to be the bottom of my first floor. So I'm going to start to sort of solve this problem by coming over to my 3D, going to scenes if you're not there, and then flipping the cut around, right? So now I've got the same cut. It's at the top of the basement, but I'm not seeing the basement. I'm seeing essentially the top foot or so of the basement and all the way up to the top of the building. And you don't need to render this, because this is just going to be another sort of thing just for matching and aligning. So I'm going to select everything though. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it into place right here. And now I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which is sort of snap it up right on top of that guy. So we can see I've got another new layer. You don't really see anything, but if I remove layer 1, we can see I've sort of got the whole sort of object there. Again, what we're really doing is that this line right here, we're going to cut our next image at that line, because that's our cut from this line. So it's sort of like an alignment tool that we're using. So I can turn that back on because we'll need it here in a second. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to go back to my 3D model. I'm going to flip the cut axis again, and now I am going to take up the cut line up to where I want it in the first floor. And I'm looking at things like, am I cutting through the windows? Yes. Am I seeing things like the complete countertops and the complete chimney and things like that? We don't have to have a perfect cut height, but you want it to be pretty good. You also don't want to take it so tall. The taller you take it, the less you sort of see on the inside, and the less windows you sort of see. Although it looks a little more sort of three-dimensional. So nonetheless, I'm going to go like this. And now this is going to be the base of your first floor. It's the reason why I'm going to do the first step is because in the exploded axon, what we don't want is this bottom area. We don't want the foundation anymore. But at this point, we have to render it with it. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to render it, and you're going to copy and paste it into the next file, which I'm going to do. Again, to save time, I'm not going to render, so I'm just going to copy this image, which you'll do after you render it, after the few minutes it takes, and I'm going to paste this file into my sort of collection file over here, and I'm going to move this guy right into place so it's in alignment with the rest of the object, so we can see that this is sort of looking here. What we want to do now again is cut off the bottom area. We're going to do that layer that we did in the first part of this video. We're going to select all of that layer. So I'm going to hit Control on my keyboard at the same time I'm clicking on this icon, and we can see what it does is it selects everything on that layer. And this bottom line is the exact cut we want on the first floor, right? That we want the bottom of this guy to have. So I'm going to come up to the layer that I want, which is this one here, and I'm going to inverse my selection set. So it doesn't look like much happened, but what really happened is now, instead of having this area selected, I've selected the reverse. So that means all of this is selected. And when I hit the delete key, we don't see much happen because I got this cut on. But when I take off my base layer, we can see we've now cut this first floor right at the line that matches that. So I'm going to turn my base back on because I'm going to need them for the second floor too. I'm going to deselect my selection and just move this first floor down. And I'm going to show you, if I move it all the way down on top of that guy, it's like constructing the full house. And then now to just do an exploded axon, of course, I'll just raise it above the first floor. And I'm going to put it tight to the basement right now. Once we get all the levels in, we can stretch it and make the proportions feel right, but to give myself some room. And so that's the first floor. Now, this layer here, that was the one that I brought in the first part of this video, I no longer need. It was just the guide. I will need the overall one, but I don't need this one. So just to clean up my file, I'm going to delete that out of my file. So now I've got my background. I've got this guy up here on one layer. I've got the basement on one layer, and I've got the first floor on a layer. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing for the second floor. I am going to start up a new video though, because there's a few things we have to do with the 3D object to get it ready, mainly because of the roof. So I will see you in that video.